This is PIX on Politics with Dan Mannarino.
And welcome to PIX on Politics, everybody. I am Dan Mannarino, and there is no summer slump for the political season. As many Congress members head into the recess to cool off, the campaign trail certainly heating up. And today we're checking in with all the major candidates of the big races in our area. This week, Congresswoman and Democratic nominee for New Jersey Governor Mikie Sherrill joining me to go on the record. Congresswoman Sherrill, great to have you back on PIX on Politics. Good to see you.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And last time we spoke, you were in the fight for the Democratic nomination. I haven't spoken to you since, so congratulations on the win.
Thanks so much.
And so now here we are, general race for governor, which means a shift, right? Not to just appeal to the Democratic Party, but this broader audience. So how are you shifting your message now to appeal to all of New Jersey?
Well, Dan, I've always run to build broad coalitions around things that are important to New Jerseyans to bring people together. So there's not much of a shift. I mean, I am driving in my message, and I've continued to do that throughout the primary, and I will continue to do that throughout the general, of affordability, of driving down costs here in New Jersey, whether it's housing, healthcare, utility costs, and at the same time, attacking the hits we're seeing coming from Washington and the Trump administration when it comes to the economic hits, the almost $5 billion they're sucking out of the economy here in New Jersey, and the other ways in which they're making it hard for people to afford their cost of living and to build their businesses.
Yeah, and I want to get to affordability and kind of laser focus in on that in just a moment. But the last gubernatorial election in New Jersey, Jack Ciattarelli came very close to winning, receiving 48% of the vote to Governor Murphy's 51%, right? And then we saw President Trump narrow the gap in New Jersey as well this last election. So when you look at the landscape and around the country, do Democrats have a messaging problem when it comes to reaching voters?
You know, I'm really laser focused on New Jersey, and I can tell you that here in New Jersey, Democrats don't have a problem, because what I'm doing is running in the way I've run since I started an elective office, and that is listening closely to the people of New Jersey about those kitchen table issues or those things that are keeping them up at night. And what I hear again and again is that we've got to get the cost of living down so people can afford homes, young people can buy a home here, seniors can retire here. And that's what I've been focused on and addressing, which is in sharp contrast to my opponent, Jack Ciattarelli, who is 100% aligned with the Trump administration, which is causing so much economic harm to our state.
Yeah, I mean, and affordability is what so many are running on right now. And speaking of politics, you know, you'd have to work closely with your neighbors over in New York City, right? Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic nominee for mayor in New York City. And I'm bringing this up because of affordability, Congresswoman. Josh Gottheimer, he's a Democrat, and he said we need Democrats who want to combat higher taxes. We don't need tax-raising socialists who refuse to condemn anti-Semitic hate speech. And he's speaking about Zohran Mamdani. So do you support the Democratic nominee in New York City, because he is running on this affordability issue, which you're talking about?
Look, I haven't weighed in. I haven't made endorsements in New York because I'm running in New Jersey. And I will tell you here, people are deeply concerned about the affordability that I've laid out. They want to see the plans and policies that are going to make a difference, and a sense that what Trenton's doing in the entrenched interest there and the regulations and the red tape and the bureaucracy are not delivering for them. So in New Jersey, what people here want to see is a strong Democratic governor who is going to push back against the economic attacks coming from the federal government and make sure they're pushing Trenton to cut through the red tape and bureaucracy. And we see it just, you know, right next door in Pennsylvania, where we have the Democratic governor there driving down the permitting times for small businesses by 90%. We see it down in Maryland, the Democratic governor there, who's working incredibly hard to deliver good government and drive in public safety to so many communities there. So again and again, we see this kind of leadership in the party at the gubernatorial level that makes such a difference in states. And I think driving forward a different opportunity here in New Jersey from all the attacks on the federal government is going to be really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I asked about New York City only because it's so close in proximity, but I hear your point. And so let's talk about tariffs and taxes, because it's all taking a toll right now, specifically on middle-class New Jerseyans. Now, I live in New Jersey. I've spoken to a lot of folks, and I've spoken to you about property taxes. So if somebody is just now paying attention to the race, which many are, right? What is your plan when it comes to property taxes? It's the #1 issue I hear all the time.
Yeah, and I do as well. And that's why I have a plan to chart out how we're going to address the state health benefits plan. It's gone up exponentially every year, costing municipalities a lot of money. And that cost us a lot more money in property taxes. So having an independent auditor and making sure we're addressing those costs and driving them down, making sure that we're looking at our municipal courts, for example, and how we can share services, and also looking at some of these micro school districts. You know, about 70% of a town's costs come from running the school system. And in some cases, the school systems have the same administrative costs, the same cost of the brick and mortar buildings that they're keeping up, and yet are running a very, very small school system. We have to make sure that we're making wiser financial decisions.
So can you pledge to not raise property taxes?
As a governor, that's, I'm working at the state level. The property taxes are municipal property taxes. What I can pledge to do is drive in money so that municipalities can lower those property taxes.
Okay. And the other big issue right now that's playing out in real time is that of immigration. And this week, a court ruling showed that private prison firms can continue to run immigration centers in the state, striking down this law, right, that bans private companies from contracting with the federal government. So the judge says the law interferes with the federal government's power to enforce immigration laws. So it seems, if you're looking at it, that there's this heavier hand of federal government getting involved in state matters. What are your thoughts when it comes to this?
That's why I'm running for governor, because I think we need more expansive state power as we see the federal government attacking our state at every level. And that's why I've been for example, I've been for years against private prisons. I worked at the federal level in the U.S. Attorney's Office as a federal prosecutor, and we don't run private prisons in New Jersey because we've seen across the country how horribly run they can be. Contrary to our values here. And so I was against them when they tried to have them for detaining undocumented people. And you can see why. I just went to Delaney Hall. You can see how there were reports that people hadn't been fed for 20 hours. There were reports of people escaping by simply kicking down an unstable wall, reports of overcrowding. So we know that the GEO, the firm that runs that prison in Delaney Hall, has a bad history and has a bad history of abuse, which is why we want a prison system that is professional. We want to make sure that we don't have those private prison systems. So we'll continue to fight back. But yes, I think it's really important that we have more expansive state power so we can weigh in and run our systems in the way that we see fit.
Congresswoman, when you look at this, and there's this whole right now, Tom Homan came in and said, well, we are going to flood the zones in terms of deportations. Do you think New Jersey should comply with the federal government the way it is right now with these efforts to deport people who are here illegally?
Look, when I'm governor, we are going to follow the law and the Constitution. And what the responsibility of our police force will be is to keep people safe, to make sure that people know that they can go to law enforcement if they are unsafe, if they are facing domestic abuse, for example. We want to continue to provide that great public safety and continue to drive down violent crime in the state. We've seen that working to great effect, and I'll continue to do so as governor.
And then just this week, Governor Murphy instructed agencies to evaluate the impact of these cuts that are coming from President Trump's big, beautiful bill, as he calls it. So if you become governor, you're going to be dealing with the brunt of these cuts, right? So can we specifically talk about health cuts? Again, I'm on the ground in New Jersey. I hear it about folks saying, am I going to lose my health care? And what can the state do for me if I do lose coverage?
So we've seen the federal government attacking the economy of New Jersey at almost every level. So I was recently down in Camden at CamCare. That's a federally qualified health center. I was talking to them about the cuts that they're going to be facing. So already a center that is trying to drive down costs by driving in better healthcare outcomes so kids can go to school, so they have more opportunity. Parents don't have to miss work with a sick kid. So driving better health for the community makes a huge impact on a town's ability to thrive. And so here in Camden, we have a federally qualified health center, and they're just scratching the surface of the epidemic of obesity, the epidemic of asthma, and how they can address it. And they're trying to get better healthcare there. And now we see with this federal plan, we'll go back to the bad old days when people are only receiving emergency room care, the most expensive kind of care, the kind of care that leaves a community sicker because people wait until they're in crisis to go there. Parents miss a lot more days of work. And we're also seeing where they are adding cost is at the administrative level, because now instead of just applying one time, they're adding more bureaucracy and red tape. So 2 times a year for application. At Camp Care, they were saying they have to increase administrative people by 20%. That's the last place you want to put your money. It's just, again and again, the federal government under Donald Trump is making incredibly poor economic decisions and driving up costs for everyone.
A lot of folks are going to be looking to you for decisions if you were to win. Your opponent, Jack Ciattarelli, chose his lieutenant governor, Morris County Sheriff Jim Gannon. You want to say right now who you're looking at for your lieutenant governor?
I will tell you soon. I will tell you soon.
How about right now? Right here, right now. I know you chose him or her.
I will tell you that we have some really great people that we're looking at right now.
All right, we'll look forward to that announcement. Congresswoman Sherrill, great to see you. Thanks for coming back. We'll have you back soon, okay?
That sounds great. Thanks again.
Okay. And still to come, everybody, a showdown brewing on the New York City ballot this November. The City Charter Commission versus the City Council, and voters are in the middle. Finance Chair Justin Brannan joining me in studio next. We'll be right back.
You're watching PIX on Politics with Dan Mannarino.
And welcome back to PIX on Politics, everybody. Crossing the river now back into New York City. And I'm joined by New York City Finance Committee Chair of the City Council, Justin Brannan. So great to have you back.
You too, man.
So you're the chairman of the Finance Committee, at least for a little longer, right? This is your term limit. Your term limited. The mayor has come out and said this is the best budget ever. Do you agree?
I mean, look, it's amazing what an election year will do for an economic forecast, right? This budget, it's not the best budget ever, but it was probably the easiest budget for us to negotiate, if only because the mayor finally was acknowledging the shared priorities of the city council, right? I mean, every day the council has to fight to assert our dominance as a co-equal branch of government. This budget was a little bit easier to negotiate because on early childhood education, on the universal child care pilot, on our libraries, our parks, we were able to find that common ground. But these are things that the council's been fighting for 4 years. Yeah. This was just happens to be the first year that the mayor actually didn't put up a real fight to fund this stuff.
Some critics are saying, well, it's setting the city up for failure in the future. There's not enough in a rainy day fund and so on and so forth. Even members of the city council have said that prior. Do you agree with that?
No, I mean, you have record reserves, right? We have $8.5 billion in reserves. Okay. It's never been that high. Our thought this year was we need to deploy money into the communities that need it most. We understand that there's always a threat of cuts from the federal government, but you can't run a city on reserves. You need the money there for a rainy day, which is why it's there, but you can't just put money aside. The people that were saying we need to put more money aside, where are you going to cut it from? And we're not making cuts in this budget. We wanted to deploy the money into the communities that need it most. Right. And we thought that that was the prudent decision. The mayor's side, it was the rare moment where we agreed with OMB on something. And I think we made the right decision.
So where was something you didn't like the outcome?
We didn't get enough money on parks. I don't understand.
But you never do.
We never do. I mean, there's been a lot of administrations that have been very cavalier on underfunding the parks department. It doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. It's sort of like the great equalizer of our city. It's the one thing I think that transcends politics is the need for our public spaces and public parks. But this administration just continues to defund our parks.
I don't want to get boring for the viewers at home, but it's important, and that's what's coming in November on the ballot, right? In terms of the Charter Review Commission and putting some new things that people can vote on. And it's important because it affects people, and it affects you. The Charter Commission is adding 5 questions, 4 of them having to do with affordable housing. One of them would be to limit the power of the city council in terms of yes or no on moving forward with the project. Do you agree with it?
No, I mean, all of these, ultimately these ballot proposals are, look, it's no secret that this mayor, Mayor Adams, wishes that the city of New York was a monarchy, wishes that the city council did not exist. All of these proposals only seek to dilute our power as a co-equal branch of government. That's ultimately what this is about. It's not about building more housing. It's about giving more unilateral power to the mayor's side for a mayor that's not even going to be here in 5 months. So it's very disrespectful.
So he thinks.
Well,
so you think.
So I think. I know. But I think that all of these proposals ultimately just seek to dilute our power and it further casts a shadow on that relationship where we want to work with City Hall, right? We're the co-equal branch of government. The proposals you're putting forward just seek to dilute our power. That's it. That's all this is about.
But a lot of them passed the last time, right? And the City Council opposed the measures the last go around with the Charter Review Commission, and 4 out of the 5 passed. Yep. So it seems like it was palatable to the voter. So how do you convince them that?
Well,
it's not
that's the problem, is that it's a concern, right? It's that the organizing that happens to try to block these proposals is because the way that they're written, they sound reasonable and they make sense to the average person. But when you actually dig deeper and you see what it means, it's giving unilateral power to the mayor, and that is not how our government is set up.
Do you support the one that at least moves elections to even years?
I think that's a great idea. Absolutely. I think it saves money, which is what I care about most. But it's a great idea. A great idea for turnout, for participation. Yeah. I think it'd be great.
And we saw a lot of turnout in this last election. Yeah. And so there's been a lot of talk now about who should the next mayor be. Do you, as a Democrat, support the Democratic nominee, which is Zohran Mamdani?
Absolutely. I mean, he is the Democratic nominee. I think his vision for the city is what's needed right now. As chair of the Finance Committee, I can tell you that we have the money we need to do a lot of the stuff that Zohran wants to do. And frankly, to bring down the cost of living in this city, the sharpest tool we have to do that is by leveraging our city budget. And things like universal childcare and faster buses, all these things would make our city more affordable.
Right. So the biggest criticism that his policies are getting is that there's not enough money to pay for them. You're saying there is.
Absolutely.
Now, it's not just faster buses, it's free buses.
Right. I mean, we need help from Albany. I think the majority of Americans support raising taxes on the rich. But we do have a $116 billion budget where a lot of the things that a future mayor, Zohran, wants to do, we can get done.
And the governor said absolutely not raising taxes.
Understood. But we'll get there, right? I think we have a lot of unlearning to do, because you've got people who think that helping working people is a radical idea, but tax breaks for the rich is okay, right? Universal child care is a giveaway, but tax breaks for billionaires isn't a giveaway. We've got a lot of work to do to get people to understand that helping working people is not a radical idea. It should be the fundamental focus of our government.
So when you say we'll get there, do you think you're going to be able, somewhere in your capacity, convince Albany to raise taxes on the wealthy?
That's the plan. And if not, we're gonna make it work in our budget.
Okay. And that brings me to you and what your next steps are. So you ran for comptroller. Yep. First off, what did you think of your opponent winning?
Great. I mean, more people voted for him, so he won.
Yeah. I mean, do you think do you think he'll do a good job?
Yeah, I think he'll do a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's good. We're going to need all hands on deck, in the next administrations, because of the existential threat from Washington. And I think Mark, the borough president, understands that.
Yeah.
I think the control, everything I ran on, I still believe, and I think Mark believes a lot of it too. I think you're going to have what is typically a sleepy role. I think the controller is going to have a real role to play in January.
What's interesting in talking to you over the years as councilman and finance chair, you've always seemed like a fighter.
Yeah.
And you continue to sound like a fighter, even though you know you're term limited and you said the fight's going to continue. So what's next for you? I
don't know. We still have to figure it out. I still got 5 months to go as chair of the finance committee, as city councilman. I still have a lot of loose ends to tie up in my district. But I love this city. I love serving this city. And I want to see the city succeed. And ultimately, I think Zohran's success is going to be the city's success. And I love the fact that so many people believed in his vision for a more affordable city. We need to get more people to understand that in the richest city in the world, people shouldn't be struggling so hard to get by. And we need to make sure that the next mayor succeeds in seeing that vision through.
And listening to you, though, you've mentioned Washington a few times. Do you think you'll run for Congress against Nicole Malliotakis?
Yeah, look, I think Nicole is a ghoul and she's got to go, and she's not doing a good job serving her constituents. She's serving the president, not the people. We're taking a look at it to see. I mean, I think the people in New York 11, it's the highest union density in the city. Those are working class folks who are getting a raw deal right now by a congressperson who's not delivering for them. So it's certainly something we're taking a look at.
So not a no.
It's not a no.
It's not a no. All right, we'll talk to you again along the way. Keep us posted. That was that's a tease. That's what we call in the business, a tease. Good to see you, my friend.
You too.
Still to come, everybody. Fighting the fentanyl crisis over in New Jersey. Meet a mother who lost her son to fentanyl and is now turning that pain into purpose when we come back.
You're watching PIX on Politics with Dan Mannarino.
The fight against fentanyl never over, and that proves true in the New Jersey State House, even while legislators are out for the summer. Our Jim Vassell has more on a package of bills written with one New Jersey family in mind.
Weston, his heart was so beautiful.
Forever young, Weston Fundner, gone at the age of 15, a victim of the fentanyl crisis.
He, in a moment of peer pressure at a brand new school, was offered something. He took a quarter of a pill thinking it would be safe, and it wasn't safe. It wasn't it wasn't Percocet at all.
It was in California 3 years ago when he took a pill offered to him by an acquaintance. Unbeknownst to him, it was laced with fentanyl. His family, who has since relocated to Monmouth County, have become outspoken advocates for fentanyl awareness. They soon met Republican Assemblywoman Dawn Fantasia, who's now introducing a package of bills in memory of Weston.
We were able to kind of create this multi-pronged approach for what now ended up being a package of 6 bills.
She's introducing a bill called Weston's Law, which, if signed into law, would extend the crime of human trafficking to include recruiting or coercing a juvenile to join a gang or drug trafficking scheme.
In essence, when these people prey on our children, that is a form of human trafficking. So that is one cornerstone, and it's named specifically after Ann Fundner's son, Weston.
Another bill looks to allow juveniles to be tried as adults, regardless of age, for certain drug offenses resulting in death. And lawmakers say education needs to be at the forefront of this crisis. That's why another bill in this package would establish a grant program for school districts to create substance abuse prevention programming for 8th grade students. As the Fundner family continues to grieve, Weston's mother, Ann, tells parents to talk with their kids.
Hug your kids every day. We were the story that this was never going to happen to us. Have those conversations with your kids. Speak to your kids about peer pressure. And don't ever underestimate that this can't happen to you, because we were the family that this was not going to happen to.
In the State House in Trenton, Jim Vassell, PIX 11 News.
Certainly important conversations to have with your children. And we'll be right back, everybody, with a look at the week ahead. All right, everybody, next week on Picks on Politics, Democratic candidate for New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani joining me here in the studio. There's a whole lot to talk about as we continue speaking to all of the candidates as we gear up for that big general election in November. And don't forget, for the In the Community issues, we really go laser focused on some smaller issues that are in your neighborhoods on Picks on Politics Daily that you can watch each and every day at 1 p.m. on PIX 11 Plus, and then it streams on our website, pix11.com as well. Thank you for being here for another episode of Picks on Politics. I'm Dan Mannarino. Enjoy the rest of your day.